Chapter 2 Opportunity Calling. Leave me alone! What do you want? Rita cried out and stumbled backward into a shelf of handbags. The man didn't move. He just stared, wide-eyed and still. He couldn't move, Reva realized. He wasn't a man. He was a mannequin. She took a deep breath and let it out. Her throat felt dry. She was still shaking. Reva, you idiot, she said aloud, her voice sounding small in the enormous empty store. She suddenly felt like laughing. Of all the stupid fools, I backed into a mannequin and nearly scared myself to death. Feeling a little better, but still scolding herself for being so weak, she stepped through the open door of the employee's elevator. The door slid closed behind her, and she pressed the button for the sixth floor. She nearly felt normal as she stepped out onto the floor of the luxurious executive offices. But the lights were all on, recessed into the dark, fabric-covered walls lined with modern paintings. Fresh flowers stood in tall vases of the plush maroon carpet. Reva passed the reception area with its leather couches and chairs, followed the hallway toward her father's office into the corner. To her left stood a wide balcony that looked down on all 5 floors in the store. As she passed it, Reva peered over the eerily silent store. A bank of security monitors, an entire wall of TV screens, stood adjacent to Mr. Dalby's office, and to Reva's surprise, the monitors were still on, creating a low electrical hum that grew louder as she approached. How odd, she thought. Those screens are usually turned off up here after closing. She didn't have long to think about this. Suddenly, the door to her father's office swung open, and a man in a blue uniform came bursting in, colliding with Reva. "Oh!" she cried. She recognized the man at once. It was Mickey Wakely's dad, the store's head of security. "Mr. Wakely!" He glared at Reva angrily, his dark eyes wild, his face and bald head bright red. "Excuse me," he said curtly, and strode off without a glance. Still shaken, Reva saw her dad appear in the office doorway. Mr. Dalby was a trim, handsome man, dressed in an expensive tailor's suit. He looked younger than his 45 years, except for the silver that had crept along the black sides of his black, closely trimmed hair. His face usually lit up when he saw Reva, but now his expression was troubled. "Come in," he said, sighing wearily. "Daddy, what's going on?" Reva asked, following him into the bright office. "Why did Mr. Wakely come bombing out like that?" She sat down in a leather chair that faced her father's blind wood desk and stared at the back of a photograph of the plexiglass frame corner in the desk. She knew it by heart. It was of Reva, her little brother Michael, and her mother on the beach in the bathing suits and cape. The photo had been taken 4 years earlier, just 6 months before Reva's mother had been killed. Reva always wondered why her father kept that photo there. Didn't it make him sad all day long? "What a day," he said, leaning his forehead against the cool glass of the huge office window behind his desk. "What a day." "So what was Mr. Wakely's problem?" Reva asked, speaking to her father's back. "He practically knocked me over." "I just fired him," Mr. Dalby said, not turning around. "Huh?" Her father's words took Reva by surprise. Mr. Wakely had been head security for a long time, as long as she could remember. She knew his son, Mickey, from school. He seemed like an okay kid. He wasn't part of Reva's crowd, of course. He lived in a tiny house in the old village. All of Reva's friends lived near a section of Shadyside. "I had to let him go," Mr. Dalby said, walking over and slumping into a leather desk chair. The chair made a soft swoosh as though he sank into it. Mr. Dalby looked as if he had been deflated too, Reva thought. "This is just between me and you," her father said, leaning across the desk to speak confidently to her. "But he was drinking on the job. With the holiday season coming up, I need someone who's going to give 100%, and I need someone I can rely on." "He sure looked angry," Reva said, remembering Wakely's bright red face as he had loomed over hers. "Yeah, well, I was angry too," Mr. Dalby said, tapping his fingers nervously at the desk. "I guess both of us said some things we shouldn't have, but I had to fire him. I really had no choice." "You ready to go home?" Reva said, losing her interest in the subject. "That wasn't the only thing that happened today," her father said, not hearing the question. "One of my Santa Clauses quit. Said his wife convinced him to move to a warmer climate. Now I'm having all kinds of electrical problems. Christmas coming up in 4 weeks, and everything keeps shorting out." "Why not use candles?" Reva suggested. The store looked beautiful by candlelight. People would love it. Yeah, till it burned down, he said sarcastically. You've always had a very practical mind, Reva. She knew he was making fun of her, but she thanked him anyway. Only trying to get you to lighten up, Daddy. He suddenly looked a lot older to her. I didn't even tell you about the troubles in the Cleveland store and the Walnut Creek store. I can't wait, Reva said, yawning loudly. Mr. Darby laughed. Very amusing. Okay, let's go home. He started to get up, but then sank back down in his chair. Oh, wait, I almost forgot. Problems in the Pittsburgh store? Reva asked. No, stop being such a wise guy. I can't help it, Reva cracked. I get it from you. He ignored her remark. Do you have any friends who want vacation jobs? He said. I already told you you can have a job this vacation, but I need 4 or 5 stock clerks. They can work weekends and part-time till your school vacation. Then they can work full-time right up till Christmas. Neat, Reva said with real enthusiasm. She immediately thought of Mitch Castellona. I'll call Mitch as soon as I get home, she told herself, her mind whirring excitedly. He'll be so grateful that I have a job for him, he'll drop Lisa without hesitating. Thanks, Daddy, she said, and leaned across the desk to kiss his forehead. That's way cool. I'll find some kids for you. All the way home, she thought about what she would say to Mitch and how she would offer the job and let him know that she was coming on to him. This should be an interesting holiday vacation, Reba told herself. She wondered how Lisa Dewey would react when Reba stole her boyfriend from her. Just thinking about it made Reba smile all the way home. What a hoot. Hi, Mitch. Yeah? Hi? Who's this? It's Opportunity calling, Reva said, twisting the phone cord between her fingers. Huh? Who? Mitch had a hoarse, croaky throat. He really didn't It really didn't match his preppy good looks at all, Reva thought. It was such a comical voice, and Mitch was a straight and narrow. It's Reva Dalby, she said, keeping her voice low, trying to sound sultry. Reva? Hey, how's it going? He sounded very surprised to hear from her. She'd never called him before. It's going real well, she said, rolling her eyes. She was sitting on the chair beside her bed, her feet tucked under her. I wondered what you were doing this Christmas. Are you going away or anything? It took him a while to reply. He must be trying to figure out why I'm calling, Reva thought. She heard someone, a girl, ask him who was on the phone. No, he finally said. Just hanging around, I guess. Well, my dad needs workers at the store, you know. Dalby's on Division Street. I told him I'd ask some people if they wanted to work. The pay is pretty good. It's part-time until vacation. Then it's full-time up until Christmas. Really? He croaked. Think you might be interested? Reva asked, pleased by his surprised reaction. Yeah, for sure, he replied with true enthusiasm. That's great. Yeah, thanks, Reva. I can really use the money, you know. Good. I'm really glad, Mitch, Reva purred. Maybe we can work together. You going to go to work too? Yes, I'd rather be on a beach somewhere, of course, but Daddy always has to be around for holidays. It's his most important time of the year, so I'm going to start working next Saturday morning. That's when you're supposed to start too, at 8:30. Yeah, well, thanks, Reva, Mitch said. This is really nice of you. I'll be there Saturday morning at 8:30. She shifted the phone to her other ears, still coiling the wire behind her fingers. I'm looking forward to it, Mitch, she said, hoping he'd catch her meaning. I think we'll have some fun. She could hear muffled whispering on the other end. Then Mitch came back on the line. Reva? Yes? He seemed reluctant to answer his question, but he finally got it out. Did you say you had a lot of jobs open? Well, I have a few, Reva told him. Do you think Lisa could work there too? She really needs the money and she'd like to work. You know Lisa, right? Sure, I know the drippy little bleach blonde with that little girl face who everyone thinks is just so cute, thought Reva. Lisa has about as much personality as a sponge mop. Sure, Reva said. I know her. Well, do you have a job for her too? Mitch asked, sounding very nervous. I mean, you can say no if you want to, but I just thought. No, Reva thought. Yes, she said. Not a problem, Mitch. I'm sure Lisa can start Saturday too. Why not? Reva told herself, unable to suppress a cunning smile. Having Lisa right there will make it even more interesting when I take Mitch away from her. Hey, thanks, Mitch said happily. Hold on a minute, Reva. Lisa's right here. I'll put her on. What a thrill, Reva thought sarcastically. A few seconds later, Lisa's little girl voice was in Reva's ear. Oh, thanks, Reva. I'm so glad. Thanks. No problem, Reva said. Daddy needs the help. So I thought, where do we go? Lisa interrupted excitedly. What will we be doing? Sailing or something? Lisa's questions gave Reva an idea. A very mean idea. She decided to play a little trick on her. This is inspired. Inspired, she thought, laughing to herself. Well, Lisa, wear your very best clothes Saturday morning, okay? Reva told her, struggling to sound serious. My best clothes? Lisa sounded uncertain. Yeah, something really sophisticated. You've got to look right. You're supposed to be a salesperson at one of the perfume counters. Chanel, I think. Really? Lisa couldn't hide her excitement. That's great. Thanks, Reva. They chatted for a few more seconds, and then Reva said that she had other calls to make. Lisa thanked her again, and they hung up. Reva jumped to her feet, laughing out loud, very pleased with herself. What a hoot, she thought. I can't wait to see Lisa's face when she shows up for work in her best dress and find out she's going to be loading shelves in the basement stockroom. What's so funny? A voice startled her from the thoughts. Michael, she scolded her 6-year-old brother. Don't just come in banging into my room like that. Why not? He asked. She laughed. I don't know why not, she said. She always found it impossible to be angry at Michael. For one thing, his curly red hair with dark blue eyes and creamy white skin, and he just looked like her. She also knew that it had to be hard for someone his age to be grown up without a mother. Yvonne, Michael's nanny, was really devoted to him and spent all her time with him, but it just wasn't the same. He doesn't even remember Mom, she thought sadly. She watched him bouncing on her bed, using it as a trampoline. She knew she should scold him and make him go back to bed, but she didn't feel like it. Hey, not so high, she cried. I'm flying. Reva started to think about who else she wanted to call and offer a job. Most of the kids she hung out with were going someplace warm for the holidays. When the phone rang, Michael let out a shriek, startling her. Michael, that's enough, she said sharply. Out. I have to answer the phone. He bounced 2 more times, then leapt off of the bed and disappeared into the door. Reva picked up the phone. Hi, Reva. It's Pam. Oh, wow. Pretty. It's little Miss Pretty, Reva thought bitterly. Miss Sweet as apple pie. Pam Dalvey was Rita's cousin, and even though Pam's family was poor and lived in a ramshackle old house on Fear Street, Reva, in an honest moment, would have to admit that she was jealous of her cousin. With her straight blonde hair, usually pulled back in a ponytail, and her round, friendly face and her flashing green eyes, Pam had clean-cut, all-American good looks. Why doesn't she wear lipstick or a little bit of eyeshadow? Rita would wonder. Why doesn't she do something with her hair? But secretly, and not so secretly, Reva envied her cousins. Envied the way that people immediately liked her, and envied the way her ease with people and all of her friends. Of course, she would never admit to any of this to Pam. Most of the time, when she thought about her cousin, which was seldom, she thought of her scornfully. It was so pathetic, poor, and after all, wore the same pair of jeans every time Reva saw her, and acted so ordinary. Hi, Pam, how have you been? Okay, I have a cold, but who doesn't? Pam replied, sniffling. I don't, Rita thought gratefully. How's Uncle Robert? Pam asked. Daddy's fine, Reva told her. Kinda tired, it's showtime at the store. That's what I wanted to ask you about, Pam said. I was wondering, Reva, she hesitated. This was obviously difficult for Pam. Are there any jobs available at the store, for the holidays? No way, Reva thought, tapping her purple fingernails against the phone receiver. Who needs a poor, tacky cousin lurking around making me feel guilty? Oh, I'm so sorry, Reva told Pam, making herself sound really upset. I wish you'd called me last week, Pam. The holiday jobs are taken. I'm such a good liar, Reva congratulated herself. I sound so broken up. Even I would believe me. Oh, Pam replied quietly, obviously very disappointed. I wish I had called sooner. What a shame, Reva thought, Reva thought, sighing sympathetically. I really feel terrible, Pam. Then she brightened her tone. Oh well, good to hear from you. We'll have to get together before Christmas. Say hi to your parents. Reva replaced the receiver and placed a smile on her face. All in all, it had been quite a satisfying evening. Pam Dalby slammed the receiver down so hard that she knocked the phone off the desk. She groaned unhappily and bent down to pick it up. That liar! Pam cried out loud. She sank down into her bed and angrily tossed her ragged old teddy bear against the wall. I'd love to pay Reva back some day, Pam thought bitterly. Just once. I'd love to find a way to make her to pay her back.